Hello, my name is Beth Dixon, and we're going to cover Lesson 1, questions 11 and 12. Question 11 says 37.5% is equivalent to what fraction in reduced terms? And again, because it has a decimal, I'm going to convert it to a decimal before I convert it to a fraction. So I'm going to take 37.5%, and because it's a percent, I'm going to move the decimal back 2 places, 1, 2. So that gives us 0.375 as a decimal, or if you want to write the 0, that would be 0.375. At this point, we can do this by hand or using the calculator to reduce. If we do it by hand, remember that we want to count the number of decimal places. So that's 1, 2, 3 decimal places. So that's a 375. And that's 1. And since it's 3 decimal places, it gets 3 zeros with the 1. So that would be 1,000. Remember, that's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And so that's 375 over 1,000. That is not a reduced fraction, so we would then need to try to reduce it. Even if I tried to reduce it, I would use a calculator. At this point, I would look at that and say that that's reducible by 25 or 75. I would probably start with 25 and say 375 divided by 25 gives me 15. And 1,000 divided by 25 gives me 40. And 5 goes into both of those. 5 goes into 15 3 times. And 5 goes into 48 and gives me 3/8. However, that's not the way that I really recommend that you do this problem to reduce it. We're giving you a lot of problems to do, and we want you to do a lot of practice. So we want you to use the tools we provide, which is this calculator. And unless your teacher tells you to do this part without a calculator, I wouldn't recommend doing this process. What I would recommend is taking your 37.5%, converting it to a decimal. Yes, do that part by hand. And then taking that decimal, which would be 0.375, and I keep forgetting not to get too close to the camera because I want to get up here where I can show you the calculator. And that's the 0.375 that I've typed there at the bottom. Then pressing the math key. It already highlights the menu that we need, which is math, and the item that we happen to need, which is fraction. So we can either press the 1, it's like ordering by number at McDonald's. I want a number 1 meal. So we will either press the 1, or because it's highlighted, we can press enter. Now, if we wanted one of the other menu items, we could arrow down, see how it changes where it's highlighted. But we want the number 1, so it's highlighted. So I'm going to press enter, and that's going to convert that to a fraction. And it automatically reduces that for us and gives us the 3/8. Let's do the same thing to 325%. Let's also remember, and I said this in an earlier video, that remember percentages over 100 will give us fractions that are greater than 1. So in this case, it will give us an improper fraction, or we can write this as a mixed fraction. So let's do this. That would be 325%. And again, I'm going to change it to a decimal first. So that would come over 2 places, and that would be 3.25. Now, if you're really good with fractions, you can see that this is 3.25. 25 is like 25 cents, which is a quarter. So this is 3 1/4. So you could write that as a mixed number. I don't expect you to be that fast with your fractions, so you may need to use your calculator. So how would we use our calculator, and what would if we wanted to write this as an improper fraction? If we're doing it by hand, that would be to write the 3, the 2, and the 5, and because there are 2 places after the decimal, that would be a 1 and 2 zeros, and then we would reduce that. And again, I would not recommend doing that by hand. So we're again going to do that with the calculator. So we're going to type in the 3.25. We're going to press the math key, and then we're going to press enter, and then press enter for it to do the problem. And it's going to reduce that for us, and we get 13/4. Notice that that is an improper fraction, but we like improper fractions in algebra because we're going to sometimes plug our answers in somewhere else, and an improper fraction is easier to deal with. So just go on and use that. And so our answer would be 13/4 or 3 1/4. You can change that to a mixed number as well. And depending, and in this case, it didn't tell you how your answer should be, just in a reduced fraction in reduced terms, and that is a fraction in reduced terms. And this is questions 11 and 12.